said she's got some more steps, so it's gonna take a little longer. I think she has an escape hatch in there, she's going out duct work or something.
I don't see any smoke coming out from around the door, so. I hear motion in here.
We good? Please stand for the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Thank you for being here, and thank you for those that are watching at home. Mayor's report. Actually, got 2 pages tonight, instead of 1 line. First of all, I wanted to congratulate our Hermann High Bearcats. You know, the football team, the cross country, and the volleyball all went to state. You know, football Bearcats did not advance, but cross country, the girls finished 9th, and the boys finished 8th, and the girls volleyball won 3rd place. So it's a job well done. We can be proud of our kids at the school out there. You know, Herman's been blessed with good weather for this last month pretty much. And we've had many visitors and in town and a lot of people camping. And it's just been a very positive month of October for our local businesses. A lot of other communities cannot say that. So count our blessings in that effect. The COVID numbers are on the rise, as everyone knows. So each and every one must use your own judgment on being safe by social distancing and wearing a mask if you so desire. But by all means, do respect other people and just try and be safe. There were 52 more bricks added to the Memorial Park last week. The bricks are still available if you have a family member or you know someone that has a relative that would be like to be represented in our Memorial Park. You can get the application here at the city office and at the chamber and so forth. Wednesday is Veterans Day. The city offices will be closed. If you are a veteran, a sincere thank you for your service. If you know a veteran, please thank them for their service. When you say thank you to a veteran, it's really appreciated. These men and women, some of them only gave up a couple years of their life to serve our country. Some of them gave 20 to 30. And, you know, when somebody says thank you for your service, it really means something to these men and women. So if you're out there and see somebody with a veteran hat, just say thank you for your service. Just the right thing to do. That's my report. City Administrator, please.
Okay. Yeah, the contractor has poured the concrete intersection out here at Jefferson and West 18th. They will begin paving at the end of this week. And we'll be meeting with the engineers and the contractors tomorrow morning for an update and to discuss the schedule. I think everything should be paved by Friday, weather allowing. There's already a pickleball game going out there. You know. The hospital clinic building is gone. Contractor wiped it out today, everything's done. I contacted a female, I'll be meeting with them to do a site inspection soon. Last week, the city conducted fire hydrant flow tests for our ISO inspections. ISO sets fire insurance rates based on several criteria, including hydrant flow and pressure. Attended the Gasconade County Hazard Mitigation Zoom meeting representing the city of Hermann on the 29th of October. It is a requirement and it's administered by MRPC. The county and the cities within the county are required to assess the emergency preparedness and equipment available in case of any type of emergency. This new plan will take several months. And Carol and I will start setting up interviews for the next 2 weeks for the part-time custodial position.
Real quick, Mark, do you feel with the applicants you have that there is someone that will be suitable for the job?
I think so. I think so. We have some.
So the first item on our agenda tonight then is kind of
Yeah, we should.
a, okay.
That's it, sir.
All right, thank you. No public comments, we'll move on to, no public comments, right? Okay, we'll move on to ordinances.
Okay, bill number, well, first, do you want to proceed, Mayor, with the cleaning contract matter? We had postponed that to tonight, I think we were gonna.
Yeah, that's gonna be dead because we decided we're gonna go with janitorial type. I don't know what the proper procedure is to eliminate it, but.
We'll just, it hasn't been even first read, so we'll just take it off the agenda for next meeting.
Okay.
Next would be 2020-32 for second reading. An ordinance to revise Hermann Municipal Code, section 720.290, termination of service for non-payment.
I move Bill 2020-32, second read.
Have a motion, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Motion's been made and second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
So carried.
Next is Bill 2020-33, an ordinance to revise Hermann Municipal Code, section 725-180, termination of service for delinquency or violation of rules. And it was realized by staff and me that as long as we're updating the termination provisions for electric, we might as well do the same for gas, and that's what this is.
All right, everybody understand that?
Yes.
Do I have a motion to approve that?
I move to approve bill number 2020-33.
Motion's been made, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion's made and second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
So approved. We need to read that a second time.
Bill number 2020-33, an ordinance to revise Hermann Municipal Code, section 725.180, termination of service for delinquency or violation of rules.
Do I have a motion to approve?
I move to approve 2020-33.
Motion's been made, a second.
Second.
Motion's made and second, all in favor aye.
Aye.
So carried.
Next is bill number 2020-34, an ordinance calling a general election for the year of 2021, setting the date and time thereof, specifying polling places, appointing judges of election, specifying officers to be elected, providing filing date for candidates, providing for publication of notice of election, and general provisions.
I move Bill 2020-34 first read.
Motion's been made, a second.
I'll second.
Motion's been made and second, all in favor aye.
Aye.
So carried.
Next is bill number 2020-35, an ordinance to authorize the execution of a contract by and between the City of Hermann and CM Archer Group PC for assessment of transportation-related ADA compliance.
Anybody have any questions on this one for Mark? No questions, do I have a motion to approve?
I move that bill number 2020-35.
Motion's been made, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
So carried.
Next is bill number 2020-36, an ordinance to approve and authorize the execution of a municipal services contract between the City of Hermann, Missouri and Marion Kunstman, DBA The Computer Lady.
Any discussion on them? If not, do I have a motion to approve?
I move 2020-36 first read.
Motion's been made, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Motion's been made and second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
So carried. Okay, we have to do that one the second time also.
All right. Bill number 2020-36, an ordinance to approve and authorize the execution of a municipal services contract between the City of Hermann, Missouri and Marion Kunstman doing business as The Computer Lady.
Do I have a motion to approve second reading?
I'll make a motion that Ordinance 2020-36 has been second read.
Second.
Motion been made and second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
So carried. We'll move on to resolutions.
The resolution on for this evening is resolution number 1294, which would be a resolution to approve job description for administrative assistant.
Any questions on that?
This is a part-time position, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Have a motion to approve that resolution?
I make a motion to approve resolution number 1294.
Motion's been made, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second. Motion made and second, all in favor aye?
Aye.
So carried. Okay, we're gonna move to old business. Discussion of the draft ordinance for the outdoor burning. So, is everybody kind of got an idea what you want now? I hope.
On the sky lanterns, if it's outlawed in 7 states, I'm wondering if we should put that in our ordinance.
I wholeheartedly agree with that. Those things have no business. I can't imagine why they'd be legal to begin with. I mean, it's a fire waiting to happen.
Those are the ones you turn loose and you let.
Yeah, it's a balloon with an open flame.
Yeah.
And if you turn it loose, you have no idea where it's going. And I found one in the middle of a cornfield out by Pershing. Luckily, it had already been combined.
Makes no sense. So you were saying add that to
I'd like
this?
to add that. I don't know, Dave, where it would go.
308.1.6.3, Skylands, a person shall not release or cause to be released an untethered skyline.
So which one was that? 308?
It's on.
That's in the,
It's in the National Fire Code.
right?
Gotcha.
Any other discussion on what you want to do with this?
Well,
National Fire Code, it pretty well covers most of what we have in here.
it does. The city has it's legal for the city to pass an ordinance such as this one and be more restrictive than, or address more things than what the fire code does. And so,
Have we addressed anything that the fire code doesn't?
I'm not sure, do they have the lot dimensions in the fire code, international?
No.
I wouldn't think so.
no, that's one thing where we're more particular about more than one fire on the 60 by 120 lot, whereas the fire code mentions no fire pits within so many feet of the structure, right? Like 50 feet or 30 feet, depending on what it is.
But you can have as many on a lot as you can fit in, as long, yes, I think that's what needs to be addressed.
Doesn't it say one per lot?
Yeah. This,
Yeah, it does.
this one.
Our draft ordinance does.
Yeah.
Number 200, general
Number 2,
regulations.
under B.
I've been questioned by a lot of people in
Where
Ward
it
2
says
about it.
general
And I said, no, you
regulations.
still have a fire pit, you just can't have 20 of them.
On the other, on number, I'm sorry, go ahead, Jim. On the general regulations, number 6, it says that waste not be burned in the street or gutter leaves. Thought we had discussed taking that aspect of it out because so many people do that during the leaf season.
Right.
The number 6.
Yeah, I thought that was supposed to be taken out.
Yeah, I thought we were
The
gonna.
only thing I knew that we was gonna take off was that the limited leaf burning season would be the last 3 weeks of May and last 3 weeks of October.
I thought we were just gonna omit number 6 altogether.
I thought that's what we discussed.
Right. I think you have a little bit of problem just limited to October. If you look today,
Yeah.
leaves are just now falling and it's just,
Yeah, I cleaned up my yard Sunday, and my backyard had the same amount of leaves as
So, I
it
mean,
had on it.
I don't
It's
know.
on-
I'm just saying the time frame. I thought we talked to take out, but the rest of it, I think we need to leave in there. The burning on the street and the guttering, I observed many of that going on this weekend.
I don't have a problem with the burning.
Yeah, I think a lot of folks do that.
That's where, they've always burned them.
Yeah.
I've never seen any damage to a street or gutter from
Well, there again, like I had mentioned, you do have that residue from the twigs and whatnot, and the ashes from the leaves going down into the storm drain, just as the grass being blown out there when you cut the grass.
But the grass packs up, the soot, that washes away, Jim, that's like silt. I mean, it's very
What
fine
about no
powder.
closer than 50 feet from any structure?
Well, I don't have a real problem with that one, but there again, that's, if somebody's out there with a tape measure, you're probably gonna find a few people who the street is not 50 feet away from the house. You know,
I think the bottom line is it falls under common sense again, you know, I use that terminology a lot, but a lot of it is just common sense.
And in today's society, there's very little of that.
Well, that may be, I'm just saying.
but I really thought that 6 was going to be eliminated.
I would like to leave in there somewhere though that we offer free leaf pickup if you prefer not to burn them, because some people don't like to burn them.
Well,
And some people,
this
I
is
would
not, this is not telling people they have to burn them.
No,
well,
No, I mean, the leaf pickup, we advertise that every year.
and some of this came about because we have citizens that have breathing problems and the excessive smoke bothers them. And if you burn on the street and gutter and there happens to be a vehicle parked 2 houses down that's got a leaky gas tank, guess what's gonna happen?
Has that ever happened, Jim?
That's when you have to call the fire department. You know, things do happen.
I guess if we took it out, citizens know that if they have a complaint about something, they can call the police department and complain and say, I can't breathe or whatever, and ask them to maybe put it out as soon as possible or something. But there are people that don't like it because they can't breathe.
But that goes for all fire pits and everything else on there.
That's true.
You know, we do own the streets. and-
This isn't a year-long
No.
process.
And you gotta remember, all winter, people burn their fireplaces.
Yeah,
Hello?
there's people that burn wood in this town, I did until just a few years ago
I
myself.
know that. The one that I don't quite understand that is number 7 with the 15 miles per hour on the wind. Who out there knows that it's 15 miles per hour when the wind's blowing?
Maybe it should swell, do we say
Sustained
anywhere?
winds.
Uh-huh.
Sustained.
I'm just saying that
When the
this,
state issues a no burn.
right, that's
Well,
already in.
that would be the property, yes.
Yeah,
If what they call around City Hall to say, hey, I'm gonna be burning leaves, the dispatch is gonna know if you're not supposed to be burning.
So, another question, what happens if the red flag goes up and goes out? Does someone go and if they see a fire burning, that they act to instruct them to put it out?
Well, if there's a red flag, there should be, and I'd have to talk to the police chief to make sure, but there should be something set in motion that if they get a call, they go and they have the authority to tell you to put that fire out because it's a red flag, and they have to put it out.
Or they will call the
If they
fire
don't pull it
department,
out,
and you're gonna get the bill.
then the police can call the fire department and we will put it out.
Okay.
And that's what we've done in the past.
Right.
We've never had any issues with it.
Yeah, most people are understanding, most people, you know, not everybody knows it's a red flag day.
Right, well, I get it on my phone, but not everyone.
So, I mean, it's just, again,
But I think we did talk too, if we do leave the street and guttering in there, they still need to call to get a permit, which is calling the PD.
not for burning leaves. When they're burning not rubbish, the tree limbs and so forth, and, you know,
Oh, that's
like
right.
Mr. Kalmeyer does it every year up on the hill. He always does, he has a pretty good sized fire up there and he calls in.
so if we take 6 out, then we need to take the first line of 5 out that says except for limited leaf burn defined below. We need to take that out. And then maybe in 6 we could put the lantern thing.
Yep. And Mayor, I agree we can take out 7 because I like what the IFC says better anyway, which is that it's just prohibited when atmospheric or conditions or local circumstances make it hazardous. We also say that under number 1.
Right.
So, yeah, the 15 mile an hour thing, I think we can take out.
All of number 7? Or,
Carol, how do we advertise that leaf pickup? That goes in the Hermann paper, doesn't it?
and it's on the TV.
Okay.
Which I don't get either one.
The city has a Facebook page, couldn't it be?
It's
put
on there. I think we.
I read it someplace, I just didn't
I did
remember
too.
where I read it.
The lead pickup.
Yeah.
We could put it on the Facebook, it's just something new that we started, so yeah, we could make sure it's on there, so.
Maybe the burning, not to burn because it's too windy, could be on there too.
That would be every day. Yeah. Yeah.
Today.
And number 3 on the individual that has to be 18 years of age or older. I know my 16-year-old grandson, I wouldn't have any hesitancy to send him out and let him watch it. And, matter of fact, I wouldn't want him to use this as an excuse. Sorry, Papa can't do it. Yeah.
Well, honestly,
Ordinance.
I've got a grandson of 13 who is
It-
very much mature enough to do
Right,
this
to do
too.
that.
I would have no qualms about leaving him out there burning leaves.
Right, but I do think someone physically needs to be present.
Oh, yes, you
Yeah.
cannot light a fire and leave. Someone
Maybe
needs
take
to
out
be
age
present.
18 years or older out and just say someone must be physically present.
Right.
at
Yes,
it.
and I think that's an excellent idea, because that has been a problem in the past.
And that gives, the proper.
And actually, that's in the IFC as well.
18
Or just
So
someone,
not 18,
or
it
not,
just
but
says
must be
someone.
physically present.
Yeah. So really, we're narrowing it down to the density of not more than one shall be allowed on lots measuring 60 by 120. When local circumstances make it dangerous, out by midnight.
But see, now I have a problem with that one, with all the campgrounds that we have. If you're gonna have it out by midnight, the police officer's gonna have to ride around and tell these people to put your fire out. They're here to have a good time, they're camping, there's 10 people around a campfire. It's time for you to go to bed. I mean, I don't think
I
that's,
don't think they're gonna go around and look for everybody to make sure the
well,
fires are out.
okay, you're making a rule.
Well, what's the curfew in the park? Isn't it 11?
Yeah, park curfew's 11. And
But
during
if
the
they're
red,
camping there,
they're camping there. They're gonna be there all night.
Right,
And people do like to sit around those fires.
yeah.
so I don't like that one either, but.
well, even when we had a red flag, they had campfires going in the park too.
If they have to be physically present when it's burning, that means if it's after 12, they have to be there.
Right.
Then maybe we should take that first sentence out and say no fire may be ignited between the hours of midnight and 8 a.m.
And that's in.
That's in that same section 4, B4.
Oh, so if you have a fire going, you can continue, just don't
Yeah.
light a new one after
Just don't light a
midnight.
new
Yeah,
one,
that's
don't
not,
get home
I
at
can't see
9
that as a
o'clock
problem.
and-
Okay.
Except the police come at 12:30 and say, when did you ignite that fire? And they say, 11.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
Anything else you wanna cover?
I think number 9 covers a lot of issues. It really helps to have that in there.
Oh, the police department needs to be able to tell somebody to put out a fire.
And I think that really helps.
If there's nothing else, then we let Dave redo it for the next meeting as a draft, I guess, the first time, so they can,
You wanted to get under old business?
I think
Should
so,
read it again.
as a draft, just to make sure that it's where, instead of doing it as an ordinance right away. I just think that's, don't you think? That would be a better way to go?
Works for me.
I was thinking we could go ahead and vote pending, have the ordinance written up pending the changes that we've noted. We've done that in past on ordinances. We've dragged our feet a little bit on this and
Well,
we're into the burning season and I would like to try to move ahead on it.
I think it needs to be written the way we need to read it myself, you know.
We
that's-
passed
that's what we-
ordinances that we didn't know what it said because of all the changes we made. I wanna see it in black and white before I'm gonna vote on
Well, we could do
it.
it.
But, I mean, without
Yeah.
the changes, I mean, with all the changes in it, so.
But not as a draft, actually write the ordinance up.
No, that's fine, do it the next meeting.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we'll take a vote on it then.
Is that agreeable with everyone then?
Sure.
Did you understand that, Dave?
Yep.
Okay, then we will move on, also under old business, we had an electric KV 69 line update.
So, some in the room are very familiar with this, and maybe some aren't, Rick.
No.
But the city and Central Electric have had a relationship or a partnership, or whatever you want to call it, with respect to the construction and maintenance of power lines and substations and other equipment for 40 years. And we've always worked together with them. When the new bridge was built across the river, we worked with them as far as who is going to be responsible for putting new lines over the river. And then we have the 69 kV line that basically runs along Highway 100 First Street, right, Mark?
Yes, sir.
From the industrial park to the new bridge, right? And so there's been a lot of agreements and a lot of ink that's been spilled, I guess you can say, over who actually owns these lines and who's going to maintain them, whose responsibility it is to maintain them, who has the right to use them, and things like that. The issue was brought up a while back, I think by our electric department, or maybe Mark or both, with respect to this 69 kV line that runs along First Street. And the assumption or the understanding is that we own it, the city owns it. And therefore, if there's ever any maintenance that needs to be done to it or damage, etc., we don't really have the manpower to fix that thing. We would hire Central or hire a contractor to come in and do it, and it's very, very expensive. And Mark, stop me if I say anything.
You're going fine.
And that has happened, right?
Yeah, we had wind shear took, I think, 2 or 3 poles,
On top of the bluff.
top of Colma's bluff, and I think that was an $80,000 fix. Replaced 3 poles.
And so there was some back and forth between the attorney for Central Electric and me back in the spring about this. And I don't know that she really looked too deeply into it. She just fired back with, well, if the city wants to transfer or convey ownership of that line to Central Electric, we have to follow the statute that says any public utilities owned by the city, including electric transmission lines, can be conveyed or ownership transferred after having first passed an ordinance and being ratified by 2/3 of the voters voting on the question. And that's where I sort of disagreed with her, that that's never been done to my knowledge with all these agreements and swaps back and forth of lines and rights and responsibilities and so forth between us and electric, or us and Central Electric. And besides that, my point to her would be, or to Central, would be who really owns it, because the exclusive right to use, operate, and enjoy that line for electric transmission purposes belongs to Central Electric. So I don't know that us sort of washing our hands of any maintenance responsibilities would be the same as a transfer of ownership that would require that vote of the people. In my opinion, it would not. This refers to agreements. When I say this, our emails back and forth refer to agreements between the city and Central Electric from 2006 and then all the way back to 1991. It refers to that 69 kV line, and it says that Central, whenever Central deems it necessary or appropriate, has the right to perform any and all maintenance, repair, and replacement at Hermann's expense. So I think what this really boils down to is just a negotiation between the city of Hermann and Central. And I really think it's more of a matter of do both sides want it, and maybe let the sides talk to each other a little bit and let the lawyers just come in and write it up, because the lawyers haven't gotten anywhere in the last few months, because Central says you need a vote, I say no we don't. But I think we can do anything by agreement And I had notes, I think Mark said at one time that Central wants this too, or the Central maintenance guys at least, or the linemen.
Yes. Yeah. Engineers, the one we deal with all the time, they're okay with it, yeah.
Well, how do we get them in here?
Phone call.
Well, let me play, and we're an open meeting, that I think we might as well just discuss this here. If you're a Central engineer or lineman or maintenance guy, why would you be for this? Do you know? Just for control or so? And we can ask them.
Yeah, I don't think there's a really good answer to that, other than, we're not gonna do anything with it, so.
Well,
We can't even get up to it to fix it.
it seems according to all these agreements that they have the right to do anything they want with that line and to transmit and to use and so forth. It's as if they own it and it's their line, except whenever anything goes wrong, we gotta fix it at our cost. And I guess I'm just curious, if I'm a Central person, I would say perfect.
Yeah.
You know what? If we went to them and said, well, we'd like to negotiate with you to transfer the maintenance and repair responsibilities to Central, I'm not sure what the give and take would be. And so I go back to, reviewing all this, I think we just need to go to Central and let the doers talk, and Jesse and the engineers and
Oh, I definitely want Jesse involved now.
yeah, and see what makes sense and see what we can do for Central, if we have to do anything for Central in order for them to take these repair responsibilities away from the city.
Why did those lines run there?
It's connecting a loop from the other side of the river down to, and it goes down Market Street, cuts across and goes back out to the west, so it's.
So it doesn't benefit us at all?
Do we get any juice off that line?
No, that's a 69 kVA transmission line.
I mean, so it has, if it were to disappear tomorrow, it would have no effect on this city.
Wouldn't bother us a bit.
Why did it happen? Why did we get that there anyway?
I think when the bridge line was taken off the bridge, they had to come across the river and bring it from that transformer substation,
And we just said, hey, yeah, you can do
The
it.
new bridge.
the new bridge.
I mean, this, the way I read it, and I can get with Mark later on the details, is when it talks about the city of Hermann having the repair and maintenance responsibilities with respect to a line, it goes back to 1991, and it says that Hermann has constructed and now owns a 69 kV electric transmission line extending from substation number 3, located in the industrial park, to Central's existing 69 kV line. I'm not sure what they mean there.
That's the one at the intersection of 19 and 100 by the church on the corner.
Okay, and so, at least going back to 1991, Hermann owned that stretch of line.
Did it say we constructed that line?
Hermann constructed and now.
We don't have the equipment to have done that.
We may have paid for it to
Well,
have been constructed, yeah, but we did.
A 69 kV electric transmission line. And then it says later in this 1991 agreement that Hermann will maintain and cause to be maintained its transmission line, substations and distribution facilities. And so in later agreements, that's just been referred back to these somewhat vague references in here, to us owning it and having to.
Who was City Lawyer when I got growing?
I don't know.
Well, I hope you were going to say it wasn't you.
I don't want to pin it on.
Well, what I see is here that there was people in town that were so hungry for a new bridge that they agreed to anything they had agreed to get the bridge, and they agreed to something they should not have agreed to.
Well, that's a different issue, I believe, isn't it?
Well, this whole thing was built to go around because they had to take the line off the old bridge. We built a line across the river and all the way through town to bypass that new bridge.
Well, when.
Isn't that right, Mark?
The aerial crossing,
Yeah.
Okay.
that went in though, that was way after 91. When was that put in?
Well, when the new bridge went in, what was that, '06?
Six, 04, yeah.
And so they had to take the line off the bridge, and there was gonna be a new line constructed from a central facility across the river, over the river to substation 3.
Yes.
And Hermann was to, well, they split duties. Central did a lot of engineering and obtaining easements and all these things, and Hermann was gonna do some things. And when the line was constructed, Hermann agreed to transfer ownership of that line across the river to Central. I think that's the kind of controversial thing. You know, half of the people say that that was a good idea and half of them don't. In hindsight's 20/20 always, but.
But why didn't we give it the national line with it at the same time?
And is this all on city property, or is it private property owners, or?
It's right down city right away.
It's a utility easement, you know, it's,
So are they running their juice over that line?
Can we get
So
them?
can we start charging them if it's our?
well, I said a little bit about that myself.
Why can't we start charging them?
Because we've given them the exclusive right to and transmit, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
We as in not us,
Right.
Right.
No, I'm-
predecessors.
So,
We'll get the conversation started with Jesse and the engineer from Central, and start at that level and see if we can.
Please
some
do.
sort- Some sort of,
I think so, because when I talked to their attorney, Sarah Gibney's her name, and she seems pretty reasonable. It's like, that was the first she heard, that it might help if some of her people went to her and said, help her and figure this out.
we can do that.
But keep in mind also, when we were, what's the American Express card, ownership has its privileges. You know, just a few months ago, or a year ago maybe, when we were negotiating or trying to figure out how to get fiber to town, one of the options was to run or use some strands along that line. We were gonna swap, we were gonna lease some strands from Central on the line that goes across the river, and Central was gonna lease some strands from us on this 69
Yeah,
kV line
exactly.
that goes along 100. And so that was a situation where they had to deal with us because we owned it, and it might, and that was gonna help us get the fiber across the river, because the quid pro quo for giving them the strands along 100 was to give us strands across the river. But now, I guess that problem is solved. So, you know, it is nice to own something, but if the only thing that goes along with owning it is the responsibility or the risk of having this pay big repair bills.
It doesn't benefit the city at all.
Yeah.
It's like owning a Cadillac, you never get to drive, but you gotta pay all the maintenance costs on it.
Wasn't there something to do that during severe weather where we had to replace the poles? It was like 80 some odd thousand. So if we would transfer that over, that could potentially save the city from expenses of that.
It's the whole idea.
So that would help the city.
I counted those poles once, like 23.
Oh, I don't know, probably.
All right, then you're going to get with Jesse and
Yes.
move forward with that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, very good. Let's continue on then. Any other old business?
I would have a couple I would like to bring up. One of them has been up, I know there was some discussion here a couple weeks back ago, and it has to deal with the ADA sidewalks that we have. We had an issue that was brought up by some citizens where items were placed what they thought was in the ADA walkway. So I did research, and we do have ordinances. What Mark had got from our engineer does stipulate there is a minimum of 4 foot, but then you go read later on, it says 5 foot. But we have ordinances on the books that the city adopted a 5 foot ADA walkway. So, and we happen to have businesses sitting side by side where we allow one to have a 4 foot and one to have a 5 foot. So I think we need to make this right. And David was right, it does specify 4 foot. Actually, there's other measurements in there. But when we put these ordinances together, which happens to be the outdoor seating one, and anybody has an outdoor seating, they must maintain a 5-foot ADA walkway. So, and then things that came up, we have another ordinance on there that stipulates outdoor sales during festivals. That stipulates the 5 foot from the edge of the sidewalk back 5 foot. So 5-foot walkways have been continually brought up throughout our ordinances that's on file. And also has been brought to attention, we have a lot of signs that are put up in the 5-foot ADA walkway. So I think we should come together and talk about this. Do we go by, and interesting, I did read in Google that the DOJ, Department of Justice, which we'll be hearing a lot about that here coming up, but they regulate the ADA regulations for facilities. The Department of Transportation regulates sidewalks and highways. Missouri Department of Transportation has adopted the 5-foot ADA sidewalk. So again, this 5 foot comes up. I witnessed a handicapped person in a wheelchair coming up the street. I'll tell you, it was on Schiller Street. He got to the alley, he could not proceed because there's closing racks and display tables, narrowing the walk space down to maybe 2 foot. Brought his wheelchair onto the street and went forward to First Street. That's not right. And also we have sign ordinances that say they could have one. It doesn't give them permission to put it in the ADA walkway, but we have a lot of signs around town that are sitting right smack dab in the middle of the ADA walkway, whether it's 4 foot or 5 foot. So I think it's, and our code enforcement officer had brought that to my attention too, and he is talking to the businesses and about removal of the obstructions from the.
Well, the signs is a simple fix. If it's in the walkway, they just move it back closer to their building. I think some of the new signs that have gone up, that's what most of them do.
The majority, I counted 13 violations just Saturday morning. With the
Could somebody
signs.
maybe go out to all the businesses saying, just with the ordinance saying, you know, watch where you put your signs. If you have merchandise out, make sure that it's not within the walkway because people in wheelchairs or walkers need to get through.
Yeah.
I think that would be a very good thing to do.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Just
We should
remind them.
contact them, because I've seen more and more of these so-called sandwich menu boards come up, and they're sitting right
And
smack
that's
dab.
part of the COVID program that Tammy is doing, some of those signs. The bill that we approved a while ago, the ordinance to authorize the execution of the contract between the city of Hermann and Archer on the ADA compliance, won't that cover some of this?
Right, the first phase of that program is just city-owned facilities. Our shops, our
I would-
offices.
Since we did that, I just wanted to make sure that was.
And then then later you could use that as a template for the other areas of your city, but that's where it starts.
Well, I guess number one thing we need to do, if the ordinances are saying 5 and ADA saying 4,
Well, ADA, if you read further, says 5.
well, make up your mind, you just said
Well,
it's 4.
you'll have to address that with the American Disabilities Association. It's theirs that says that.
Would it not just solve it to send all the businesses letters saying
Yeah.
that they need to follow this ordinance?
Well, there are some that are obviously blocking,
Yeah.
and I think you address those first. I don't know if everybody needs one.
But
And,
Dave,
the ordinance enforcement officer, we did talk about this week,
Yeah.
and he said he has already addressed 5 or 6 of
Yeah.
those.
but through what I referenced, the ordinance is there, it specifies, says in there that the sidewalk must be the minimum of 5 foot ADA passage and be able to be widened if ADA changes it. And having the 5 foot for sale items, the sign ordinance stipulates in there that the signs may not impede pedestrian traffic. and seeing this individual that was wheelchair confined having to get off the sidewalk onto the street, it's starting to be a problem.
Well, that is a problem. That should never happen. That should never be allowed to happen.
And it sounds like our code enforcement officer is,
He's on it already,
yeah, okay.
Well, I'd let him deal with that part of it.
but in order for him to enforce it, we need to make sure, and maybe Mr. Police can help us, with our ordinance stipulating 5 foot, do we go, because we have two businesses, one they're side by side. One are held to the 5 foot ADA by ordinance, and the other one we're letting them get by with 4 foot. And over the year and a half I've been here, we've always heard what you do for one, you gotta do for the other. Well, if we have an ordinance on the book, I think we have to stand by our ordinance, which is 5 foot, which is legal.
Well, I've gotten 2 different deals on this now. Because when I checked on it here just not too long ago, Mark actually even sent me the documentation, I don't think I have it on my phone anymore, that our engineers said it was 4 foot, didn't you? Isn't that what you sent me, Mark?
But it does go on to say it, there's lots of variations of that ADA.
Well, I realize there's gonna be there's places in this town where you can't even get 4 foot. I pointed that out to one spot on Schiller Street, up
There's
Schiller
some
Street.
place where there's no sidewalk.
You've got a historic home with a wooden front porch and a tree that's probably 150 years old in conflict right there. You're not gonna get it.
And see, whenever they did the sidewalks on Schiller, they took into consideration the historical significance of those porches and those buildings and those trees, so there was some variances allowed there.
Yeah, and the ADA does allow for that.
Yes.
And it does allow only one side of the street to have sidewalks too. Schiller Street could be an example of that.
What is that?
One side of the street only must have sidewalks?
So if one side's ADA compliant, the other side doesn't have to be? I'm asking.
I don't know. That's what I did read out there. One side of the street, i.e., say at your house or part of my house, we don't have sidewalk, but the other side of the street does.
When we start with this TEEP agreement with Archer and the state, we'll get some clarification on that and all those things. And
Yeah, I think that, being you're gonna do that anyway, that's the way to go. Get some clarification, then we can,
Yeah.
you know,
It's something that can come up, and if we don't, the city is liable for not having the right disability access. And that's what I want to try to protect that. And the majority, well, everything I've seen, I don't worry too much when you get in residential sections, but in, say, First Street, majority of Schiller Street, except for that one block, and 4th Street and Market, all does have the 12-foot sidewalk. And on 12 foot, if you leave 5 for ADA, you still got 7 foot. And if they want to have sales on their sidewalks, move them back to the building. Leave that open. If you got a menu board, put it back towards the building.
I don't have a problem with that.
But it's getting more and more.
well, if the zoning ordinance inspector's already addressing the issue, my only thing is the 4 to 5 foot. What do you recommend we do on that?
Well, Dave, if we get.
That's why I'm asking Dave.
Yeah, if we go to court and we've got 5 different documents that gives 5 different answers on what that ADA distance is, what do we do?
I'm not even sure what that lawsuit would look like. I would-
Really, after being here this length of time?
Yeah, there's other laws, yeah. Anyway, I like Mark's idea. The Archer engineers, I think, are the ones who can most practically speak to the ADA rules and sidewalk width rules and things like that, since they design them and have to deal with them on a daily basis, so.
yeah,
Wait until they come back with, and then if they recommend the 4, then we need to change our ordinances? Is that the route to go?
Yeah,
So we're
and
outlining.
I'm just wondering here, brainstorming, if we put a certain number of feet in our ordinance at all, or just say shall be ADA, a width that is ADA compliant.
There you go.
Considering not all of our sidewalks can be made ADA compliant, I would think that.
Because of variances here and there.
Mhm.
To
And
the
more
ex-
people are using power wheelchairs and those little
scooters.
And we should have room for them, absolutely, 100%. I
The
don't
idea
argue with that.
of the 5-foot ADA walkway is the average width is 30 inches for a single-wheeled wheelchair. So you could have two people go down the sidewalk at 30 inches and 30 inches, that's 60 inches, thus you have 5 foot.
Well,
You have a husband and
let's
wife.
proceed the way we're talking here. So
Let's
we
see what
can-
Roger has to say about it.
So when, I think it's something we need to get done ASAP, if not, we could be in a lawsuit from the ADA.
Well,
We don't enforce our ordinances, because we do have, and that's part of it, if we have ordinance on the books and we don't enforce them, those ordinances can become nil and not enforceable anymore.
all right, Mark, you take care of that, we're gonna move on. Any other old business?
I do have the second one I want to bring up. I'm sorry. No, last meeting we brought up about getting a new police vehicle. Now, to be honest, I was caught off guard. I had no idea that was coming up.
Well, it's been voted on and approved.
I know it's been voted on, but I do have the right to address this. You can stop me, but then it can go on TV.
Well, I don't care about
But that wasn't discussed, and I had a lot of objections to it. But it caught me off guard, I wasn't prepared for it.
You have voted to approve it.
I did, but I was caught off guard. And I sent that address to everybody on the board, like the next day that I was uncomfortable with that decision. I think we should think it over.
Well, I will tell you that we've been cutting that vehicle from our budget for 3 years. The opportunity has come up. You know, we looked into, had an opportunity possibly to buy a state patrol vehicle, 5 months ago. I was given an information and a contact and a price, and then once we got a hold of the state patrol, and this was not a brand new vehicle, this was a used vehicle, the price wasn't $12,000, it was closer to $20,000, which we did not have the extra $20,000 to do it. The bottom line is, it's something that needs to be done, it's a life safety issue for our officers, and it's been voted on and approved. I'm sorry you had misgivings after the fact, but that's...
And that's what happened, it was not discussed. And there is, to me, logical reasons that we should have visited and discussed it instead of 15 minutes decision voted on it.
Well, like I say, there was work done before that meeting.
Because we don't have the $40,000 now that you just said we didn't have the $20,000.
We need 8,000.
Yeah, we only need $8,000.
We're financing.
And we don't, and another thing I'd like to address on that is, yes, it does appear we're ahead on sales tax. I mean, this whole discussion should have been done before we voted on this. We are ahead on sales tax, but that sales tax is for the whole city. Can we take $8,000? Yes, we can, and move it to one department to buy a car that I really don't think we need. I know it's been brought up to me, well, it should have been done 4 or 5 years ago. Well, 4 or 5 years ago, the 3 of us wasn't on the board, but you 2 were.
But we're gonna, you know,
And let me finish, if I could.
we have people waiting to do
I know
business.
they are, but then I do have another idea, if I'm allowed to speak, is that based on the budget we got at the last meeting, the PD is actually below where they should be after 1 quarter. That means they have extra money in their budget, which actually should come to them about $12,000 to $15,000 that they didn't use in the first quarter of the budget. Can we use that money to apply to the police car?
I can't
It
answer
doesn't
that.
necessarily work like that specifically, although Marlon and Matt did come up with some ideas, when they submitted with their budget originally, back in March, of some things that they could possibly tighten up on that would help towards that. I think it equated to about $3,000 or $4,000. And then, as you all saw today with our sales tax, we had an amazing sales tax this month. Now, year to date, we're at $48,000.
Right.
So, I mean, it's working there, but that's why I think we should think about and talk about things, because this is not gonna get a whole lot better in the near future. And if, I mean, it's done deal, I would like to see that new vehicle be a marked vehicle with decals and Visibar on it.
Well, that is up to the
Chief of Police.
the police department to decide on how they want to do their vehicle. Okay, is there any other old business? Any new business? We're gonna move to motions, minutes. Motion to approve the minutes.
I move to approve the minutes.
That's second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
So carried. Invoices for payment.
Move to pay the bill.
Motion to pay the bill, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Motion been made and second, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
So carried. Okay, outdoor seating permit renewal, B&R LLC, DBA Doxy Slush, Nicholas and Whitney. Okay. You all want to present yourself, or anybody have any questions for them? Oh, sure.
I guess.
Sorry for the delay.
Oh, you're fine, you're fine. Thanks, appreciate it. Hey guys, how are you?
According to this, your seating and everything's remaining the same as you have it now, correct?
Currently, yes. Potentially next year, we may want to revisit it and see if we could expand it, but I have nothing new to change currently.
Okay.
I want to thank you for submitting a new diagram. Did good.
Anybody have any questions?
Matt, are you aware of any complaints other than, it says no complaints on there. Are you aware of any problems at all with that facility?
They've been very cooperative and no issues, no complaints.
I do have one question. It goes back to the year and a half plus I've been here. I know we had talked about the serving cups. You was gonna have one for alcoholic containers and one without. Have we taken care
So
of that?
we still only have the one container.
Okay.
I don't remember discussing different ones. But you know, we have the one, the foam cups that we currently have, we've always had. And they, you know, until, you know, the law changed at the beginning of the year when the state opened up the alcohol to go, you know, it's for in-house only.
It had to be sealed containers and, you know, if they do come off of your outdoor seating, that's your liquor license that you can lose.
Sure, sure.
But
So-
we had talked that you agreed upon you was gonna have one color for alcoholic bases and one for,
I don't remember that per se, we have to look back at that.
Okay. Any other questions?
This is just for the seating permit that we're
This is,
talking about now.
yes, there's
Okay.
two different items.
Okay.
Move approved.
Motion been made, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made and second, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it. Now we'll do the conditional use permit, which is also for you.
Don't move.
This is for your liquor sales or sales consumption. So any other questions?
I would say I'll vote to approve this, but I would like your sign saying that you can't take beverages out onto the streets made
Sure.
bigger because it's down at the bottom and people don't look at that.
Okay, can I put one on the inside in the glass or
As long as
somewhere
people can
as
see it,
exiting?
because a lot of people walk
Because
out with their cups.
Sure, and that's, I think, where a lot of the confusion is, because you can't walk the streets, and anybody who asks us, we tell them that they cannot, you know, Hermann does have the ordinance to where you can't walk around with them. We do say you can take them to go, because the state opened that up, which honestly has probably saved our business this year.
You know, I bought some to go, so.
So, yeah.
But I just think if your signs would be bigger, that would help,
Okay.
because you can tell people, but if it's in black and white, right in their
Yeah,
face as they walk out.
I've talked to Chief Walker before, and we've, you know, discussed different things we potentially could do. We really haven't, I think there's just a lot of confusion with the rules now as far as what's allowed and what's not, and it's hard to tell a customer, you know, even if you did have a sign, you know, where did the legal ramifications lie if we have the signs? The state allows us to sell them to go,
Mm-hmm.
and they walk them down the street and they haven't opened them, but at some point they open it. you know,
Yeah,
how.
then there's nothing you can do about it, but I know.
Sure, I
that
just,
business-
back to his point about the liquor license, how would that, you know, apply at that point?
Well, once they're out of your establishment, a little bit out of your control.
Sure,
If there's a
exactly. I
sign when
can't
they
run
leave,
after
and it shows up and they see it, it might help them remember. Because I know there's some other businesses that sell alcoholic beverages on the street and they get, or in their businesses, and they get upset because then people say, well, I won't buy it if I can't take it with me.
Yeah,
That's where I'm coming
it's
from because I
tough
can't.
right now, and I
Right.
think everybody with COVID is kind of uncomfortable. Half the people who come in are okay staying, half are like, hey, I'd rather, you know, go enjoy it somewhere else in the comfort of my own home, or, you know, wherever they decide to take
So,
it.
Nick, is it true, I think I looked it up on the website again, that these new laws, these new COVID restrictions that have been lessened, expires December 31st?
As far as my understanding, I know,
That's what I thought.
I have heard that Missouri is one of a handful of the states considering opening it up completely. We don't know on that for sure.
I was just, I guess only bringing that up to the point that enforcement, you know, for the officers to identify whether or not somebody's in violation, it would be easier when these go back to normal. Because then
Sure,
when they sell to
of
go liquors
course.
and the
If we
prepackaged.
ever go back.
There ain't gonna be no more.
Yeah, I was gonna say, with the spikes and everything, I don't see it changing much next year.
Just get smart about it.
Continue.
All right, any other questions?
Move to approve.
Motion's been made, second?
Second.
Motion made and second, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Ayes have it. You're good. Hopefully October was good to you.
It was very good.
We're glad you're here. Okay, item E, dental and life insurance annual renewal.
Rick, one quick question, Tricia. That's 180 for everybody for the entire year?
Yes, that's awesome, all the increases.
Wow.
It's just life insurance, it's not too expensive.
All right. Any other questions on the renewal? Motion to go ahead and approve that?
So moved.
Second.
Oh, all in favor?
Aye.
So carried. Okay, employment status of Lindo Mantles for the reserve officer.
I moved
Everybody
to-
knows that he went to work for the county, but now he wants to be a reserve officer. He's a good man, so.
I move to approve it.
Motion's been made to approve.
Second.
Motion made and second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
So carried. Okay, hire a part-time administrative assistant. Anybody have any questions on that? This is to relieve some of the pressure on Ms. Tricia.
And you will use her to do that?
Well, this is the open position, so yes, there is plenty of work for her to do. It's not any more to help me.
But you will let her do it?
Certainly.
And I move to approve Tricia's recommendation.
Motion's been made, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Motion's been made and second, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Okay. Temporary liquor caterers permit for, oh boy, Schoenwald Farm, doing business is out. I didn't bring.
I mean, I've got zero background in that. First time I read it was Schweinland, but that ain't right.
Elder Brand Pure Distilling for Hogshead Holiday Bazaar, that's for December 5th. I have a motion. Any questions or anything?
I'll approve it if I don't have to say that.
Motion's been made, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Motion's been made and second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
So carried. I believe that concludes. We have no,
May I say one thing before we adjourn?
yes, you may.
It's purely a personal opinion, everybody, but Hermann came through COVID and Oktoberfest really good. But don't think it's over with. COVID is here to stay. Our ordinances are fine. Now, they were all passed at one time for a reason. But the world changed about 9 months ago. And we still have businesses at risk. Let's not get too picky with them and clamp down on them too hard. The ordinances say what they mean. I mean, that's fine. But if we have to relax them or change them a little bit to help our commercial districts survive, they're trying to adapt. We're going to have to adapt with them. At least that's my personal opinion. That's all I want. Move to adjourn.
Second. Motion's been made and second, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you everyone for coming.
That's what I'm.
I think you need to start.
Everyone you got on the camera, you said?
Powers that be.
Yeah, we were pretty in town. Just hope these girls in front of you.
I didn't get that on camera, did I? I don't want anybody to see that.
Yeah, I think that, the girls.
Hope it's not too early.
Those guys understand.
I wouldn't even get out there and pass on the team before anybody popped in.
The bean counters know, oh, this is.
There you go.
I know. What?
Bean counter. What's that?
Yeah,
I guess I Google it.
I read that sometime, but I'm trying to remember.
I don't know.
Okay. All these smart people in the room, nobody knows the answer.
Probably like marriage.
Closing remarks.
Might go back before the abacus, and they probably counted beans.
Well, and I was thinking along something like that. I seem to remember,
Are you available
It's-
those days?
This one, the
passing a time where the bean spelling was hot, weigh it down,
I spent.
for measure